What is going on, everybody? It's your observant lineman here, Uche Nwaneri. Make sure you do me a favor, hit that like button if you like this video, and subscribe to the observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri, if you haven't already done so. It looks like we have got a big update on Deshaun Watson. Obviously, now with this saga that has been going on for well over a year, many people in the NFL have many different opinions. There's a divide of people who believe one part of this situation, and there's a divide of people who believe a different part of this situation. And while we all have our opinions, none of us really know what happened between Deshaun Watson and these women who were accusing him of sexual misconduct. We do now have information in regards to the civil suits and where these situations are moving forward, as now it is being reported that Deshaun Watson has settled 20 of the 24 lawsuits. We have an official statement here. Ian Rappaport's reporting. Here are the full statements from lawyer Tony Busby on Browns QB Deshaun Watson settling 20 cases. Now, this is a settlement of 20 cases, which means that they will be dismissed once the settlements are finalized. It seems that that has already happened, so these have been dismissed. Let's take a look at this statement here from Tony Busby in regards to Deshaun Watson and his legal issues. Statement on Deshaun Watson settlements. The case against Deshaun Watson started with one phone call from one brave and strong woman. That woman was Ashley Salas. At the time of that call, she was just one of the hundreds of calls seeking legal assistance that our firm gets weekly. Even though she was originally turned away by our screening process, my staff insisted that I personally speak with her. I'm glad she persisted. Once we took a second look, and after having contact with Watson's original lawyer who disrespected Ashley and her profession and who arrogantly minimized the conduct of someone he referred to as an asset, I was convinced that our law firm should try to help. I think it's kind of interesting when you listen, when you go through this statement, some of the words that are used. I find it very interesting with some of the words that are used. That here he says Watson's original attorney disrespected Ashley, arrogantly minimized the conduct of someone he referred to as an asset. And these were things that triggered him to pick up the case. I find that to be quite fascinating. Let's continue. As a result of Ashley's lone but brave voice, soon, many women who allegedly experienced the same conduct were emboldened to step forward. I'm incredibly proud to represent them all. Of course you are, because it's probably getting half of their settlements. They have endured vile criticism and fanatical ignorance. They faced withering cross-examination by skilled litigators and stood firm. They're warriors all. Today, we have an important announcement about these cases, but it's important to point out that without Ashley Salas, the conduct experienced by these women would likely have continued unfettered. That's an assumption to make, but okay, I'll grant him that assumption, because it was a lot of women. The truth is, without her courage and willingness to come forward, the NFL wouldn't currently be contemplating discipline. That's not true. The NFL was going to contemplate discipline the moment that this became a public matter, something that was available to the public to see, and was at one point being investigated by police. There was going to be a disciplinary process in place. That's just how the NFL works. They don't care if you get charged or not. They don't care if you get charged. They are going to discipline you simply because. So that's somewhat of a stretch there. There would be no examination of how teams might knowingly or unknowingly enable certain behavior. Sports teams wouldn't be reviewing their personnel screening processes, and this important story wouldn't have dominated the sports headlines for more than a year. There is some truth there. Today, I announced that all cases against Deshaun Watson, with the exception of 4, have settled. We are working through the paperwork related to those settlements. Once we have done so, those particular cases will be dismissed. The terms and amounts of the settlements are confidential. We won't comment further on the settlements or those cases. As stated, Ashley Salas is one of the heroes of this story. Her case has not settled, and thus her story and that of the other 3 brave women will continue. I look forward to to trying these cases in due course, consistent with other docket obligations and the court's schedule. Tony Busby. So this is a mixed bag if you're Deshaun Watson, because as we all know, Deshaun Watson has been very verbal about his innocence in these situations. He has pretty much laid out that he was going to fight to clear his name, and while he has every right to do that, there is going to be some type of inference that people are going to come to in regards to him settling 20 of these cases, and more than likely settling all 24 to get this out of his hair. Is it an admission of guilt? I'm not so sure that's the case, but it is definitely an admission that he is tired of continuing to push forward, because you don't know how these were each going to be separate civil suits. So it was going to take, who knows how long it was going to take to get to the end of this tunnel if you decide to go through all those civil suits. It would be to his best interest to get them all off the table as soon as possible. You don't want to go to court with all of these civil suits and have a situation where you're literally costing yourself maybe tens of millions of dollars just to fight them. And then, depending on what the outcome is, you could easily be paying out maybe $100 million more. And, even with a fully guaranteed contract, that does not necessarily mean that you can afford to do that. That is a lot of money to put up for your defense of your name over an extended period of time. And it was going to be something of that nature for Deshaun Watson. So definitely, I think that it would have been in his best interest to get it done as quickly as possible. Now, what is the situation going to be for Deshaun Watson as far as the NFL is concerned? And let's take a look at this video. It's about 5 minutes long. I do want to kind of see about some of the main points in this reaction, because I do really respect Rich Eisen and what he brings to the table in terms of his commentary. So let's take a listen to him and hear what he thinks about the situation, because obviously this is something that many people have been concerned about, at least as it pertains to Deshaun Watson's career moving forward with the NFL. And again, the big question is, what does the NFL do at this point? What is the next step now that, let's say all these cases are settled? There's no more legal matters on his plate. He's already sat out a whole season. He's signed with the Cleveland Browns. Are they going to make him sit out another season from a disciplinary side? Let's hear what Rich Eisen has to say about this situation.
Okay, Mike. So I reached out to you, and you were kind enough to say yes on short notice, because this happened 10 minutes before we even went on the air today. Tony Busby confirming that 20 of the 24 lawsuits, or all lawsuits, that have been filed against Deshaun Watson through he as the lead attorney, all but 4 are being settled. What's your opinion on that? What do you make of that news?
Well, they say that wisdom often never arrives at all. It's better if it comes late, and this was long overdue. It was something that needed to be done from the get-go, before the first lawsuit was filed. It was mishandled by Deshaun Watson's representatives. They not only failed to seize upon an opportunity to settle the Ashley Solis case for somewhere in the neighborhood, I believe, of $50,000 to $75,000, because the opener was $100,000 and it's always negotiable downward. They pissed off Tony Busby. He started rounding up more plaintiffs. He began to realize what he had here, and the next thing you know, there's 22 cases, and they almost settled him in April of last year. Busby wants confidentiality as to the amount. Watson and Rusty Hardin, who's involved at that point, wants no confidentiality, basically so they could brag to everybody about how little they paid these plaintiffs to make them go away. Falls apart then. They tried last October to pay everybody $100,000. All but 4 were willing to take it. Deshaun didn't want to do some, most, almost all. He wanted all or nothing. Falls apart then. So now he realizes, let's just knock out the cases that we can get. And whether it's 100, whether it's another 0, whether it's somewhere in between, who knows? But 20 of the 24, and I wouldn't be surprised to find out it's the same 4 holdouts. I don't know that yet. That hasn't been disclosed. The only person that we know did not settle is Ashley Solis, the very first plaintiff, plus 3 others. But this is an effort to end this. And this is what Deshaun Watson needed to do. Take his reckoning, find a way to achieve an amount that constitutes justice from the perspective of the individuals who are accepting it, and move on. And this greatly streamlines the process going forward. Trying 4 cases takes a hell of a lot less time than trying 24 cases. So,
and that's exactly what I was saying. Who wants to go to court to try 24 different cases, 24 different civil suits? And, like we're hearing here, you should have got this done at the very beginning. And now that I'm hearing the dollar amounts of what was offered and what was likely to be taken by the original accuser, $50,000 to $75,000, and you didn't just knock that out? I mean, that to me is a mistake on Deshaun Watson's part. That's a mistake in his decision making with his counsel to allow for this to continue on, because the more it goes on, the more you have to pay, the bigger the ticket is going to be. And then you go from $50,000 to $75,000 with one plaintiff to now 24 plaintiffs, 20 of which are offered now $100,000. So you're coming off of $1 million or $2 million, all in all, to get this knocked out, and you refuse because you want to have no confidentiality. I would have thought that confidentiality would be the preference, because who wants to have all the information of this case, all the details, the salacious accusations put out there for the world to see? You don't want that. So you want it to be confidential. You want to get it off the table. You want to get it out of the public limelight. And you had opportunities to do this 2 times, and you botched it. And now here you have a third chance, and it looks like you're finally getting it done. And now, who knows what you're paying? You might be paying $1 million to each. Who knows? We don't know. So let's continue on here.
So this is a good development overall for Deshaun Watson. Doesn't mean he won't be suspended. Doesn't mean he'll be suspended any less than what he was going to be suspended. It just clears away 20 cases that would have had to have been dealt with in a court of law, start to finish, and it would have caused this thing to linger probably into 2024 if you only have the off season to do these trials. So this is the first huge step toward Deshaun Watson putting this behind him.
Well, Brian McCarthy, NFL spokesman, saying, quote, today's development has no impact on the collectively bargained disciplinary process. Read between lines for me on that one.
And 100%, because, for those of you who don't know by now, the NFL does not care what the outcome is, because you were accused, because you were thought to have committed an infraction. The NFL's public conduct policy, their personal conduct policy, goes into effect. There have been players in the NFL who have been arrested for battery or domestic violence, and then it comes to the light later on that charge is dismissed, and there's nothing on their record in regards to that situation at all, and they still get suspended. They still get fined. The NFL does not necessarily pay attention to what the outcome of your situations are. The fact that you got in the situation means you will pay for that through the personal conduct policy. Hey, I don't make the rules. We just play the game. So, I don't necessarily agree with how that is handled by the NFL, because it does not really take into account any kind of due process whatsoever. But, the NFL is a private company, private entity that does what it does. So you got to deal with it.
If there are lines to be read between.
There are no lines to read. It's absolutely 100% accurate. It has no impact. It has no effect. It's a separate branch of the justice system. You've got the criminal, you've got the civil, and then you've got this in-house NFL-created justice system aimed at matching the expectations of the public with whatever consequences ultimately imposed on Deshaun Watson. And I was told last week the NFLPA bracing for an unprecedented suspension. Mark Maskey of the Washington Post said that probably means 1 year, and that's the proposal. Where it ends up through the disciplinary process remains to be seen. So that's still coming. And if anything, and look, settling a case doesn't mean that you're conceding that you did anything wrong. But there are a lot of people out there who will look at a settlement and say, if you really didn't do anything wrong, why are you settling? And there are many reasons to settle something even if you did nothing wrong. In some cases, the settlement amount is less than what it will cost you to pay for your legal fees from now till the end of the case. So it becomes a business decision that is made without passion and with pure objectivity. But people don't want to hear that. They're going to assume that he paid, therefore he must have done something. And, Rich, something I just posted, once I got a chance to start to get my brain around this. With one plaintiff and a confidentiality provision, pretty difficult for that information to ever come out because they put some language in the agreement that gives it real teeth. Typically, there's a liquidated damages clause that says if you blab, we can come get all the money back. So people shut up. When you got 20, somebody's going to blab because that person can hide among the other 19 and say, I didn't do it. How are you going to prove I did it? So you find a reporter that you trust, and you tell the reporter the amount or show the settlement agreement, whatever the case may be. I think it's going to get out. I think it's inevitable that we'll know what Deshaun Watson paid.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. This is not obviously the media will have a field day with making assumptions about what Deshaun Watson did or what he didn't do because he's settling. As Mike Florio said there, you know, people are going to make a decision. They're going to try and label him because he settled, when in all actuality, settling was the most reasonable thing he could do unless he wanted to be tied down in litigation for years and be at the expense of millions and millions of dollars to clear his name, because it is very hard to clear your name in this world once something has happened to dirty your name, to muddy your name up. So for him, this is the next best thing. Go ahead and get things settled, get it over with, get back to football, and, you know, face the consequences that are now going to come from the NFL, because it doesn't just end with these cases being settled. I think that Deshaun Watson, at the very least, is looking at, he's going to be looking at least, I mean, I would say, if I was being absolutely hopeful, I would say 8 games, but it's more likely he's probably looking at a full season to maybe a season and a half. He might miss the entire season and then the first 4 of next season. That might be where they go. They're talking about an unprecedented suspension for Deshaun Watson. So this could be something that really does turn into a situation where someone is going to be made full example of by the NFL. I mean, Calvin Ridley got a full year for $1,500. The NFL is liable to do anything. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think about Deshaun Watson settling these cases with these accusers? What would you do if you were in his situation? Would you settle, or would you continue to fight on to clear your name? Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button if you like this video, and subscribe to the Observant Lineman Uche Nwaneri. Appreciate you guys for checking me out, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.